Recording. Hi everybody, I'm Neal Ronaghan here to talk to you all about Nintendo's E3 2007 and 2008 presentations. With me, as always, for these E3 retrospective segments here on NWR TV, we have John Rairdin.
Hey everybody.
And Justin Berube.
What's up?
So first, I guess, if you have a question as to why we're combining E3 2007 and 2008 into one show here, we're kind of giving every other E3 of the past 10 years their own spotlight. These years are real rough, 2008 in particular, so we're combining them into one. We're going to streamline it a little bit more than we've been doing so with these other ones. So let's jump right in and talk about E3 2007, which, from watching the press conference, it's basically like Reggie just walks on stage, and it's just like, my name is Reggie, and I am happy. Now, Justin, how did you feel about Nintendo's victory lap in E3 2007?
I mean, I guess they earned it, but we'll get into it more. I wasn't too impressed with this year, but Nintendo definitely earned it. Things turned around for them as a company and sales-wise and whatnot, but it's kind of cheesy to hear Reggie go from the badass kicking ass and taking names to them like not wanting to say ass anymore, and then I'm just happy.
Yeah. I mean, he does deserve to be happy. Don't we all deserve to be happy, Justin?
Yeah, I guess we do.
Now, I guess for people who don't know where Nintendo was at this point, the Wii had come out just a few months before, was still sold out when the C3 happened, and the DS was on top of the world. I think there was a lot of hubbub about the DS might be peaking in 2006, but 2007 so far was doing just as well, if not better, than 2006. Now, John, what were your initial impressions of this E3 presentation?
Going back and watching it, it's sort of bittersweet because, I mean, there's a part of me that just loves seeing, even though they're totally just like bragging about it, it's really nice to see Nintendo doing well and to look back on that and just be like, oh, that was fun, because we're not there now. But yeah, it's sort of bittersweet to see them at that position of glory and knowing that it is not going to last at all.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much promise in this presentation. Like, the future looks so bright from here, but you can even see a little bit of that. I mean, and I feel like Iwata especially addresses the fact that, hey, we're not going to abandon the hardcore, but like there's such a bigger audience for both of these presentations.
Yeah, and I mean, even years before this, Nintendo, even before they really started making the games for everyone and really pushing that, these press conferences and whatnot, Nintendo would talk about, like, our games can be enjoyed by everybody. So in that aspect of things, I never felt like Nintendo really changed its goal. It's just they really started pushing that agenda a lot harder in this era.
Yeah, and the way that this presentation started off, I mean, Reggie said that he was happy. And then they basically just had more than 15 minutes of sales talk. That's how it opened up. Not nary a game was mentioned outside of like, hey, Brain Age is doing really well. I did like this one quote that was kind of portentous for what would happen. DS may be the beacon that is lighting the way to the future of the entire game industry, which I think is true, but kind of to Nintendo's detriment, because I think that the DS kind of led into mobile games in a weird way.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking when I watched this presentation earlier.
I mean, it really is. It's kind of sad because Nintendo kind of set this entire audience up, and it just didn't really work out the way they planned. I mean, it worked out very well for the Wii. The Wii sold a lot. The DS sold a lot. But at least now, 7 years after this, like, it's a little like,
Yeah, the timing was right for what Nintendo did. If they waited any later, it probably wouldn't have worked. Because all these people that were playing these games probably just have a cell phone now, and they don't feel like they can justify purchasing like a $200 handheld or whatever to do the same thing.
Yeah, because I think the iPhone still wasn't a thing yet, and the App Store, or maybe the iPhone did come out, and then the App Store came out like 2008 or something like that. I think that's the way it went down. I think the App Store was 2008. I'm trying to remember when someone in college was playing the janky Super Monkey Ball game on iOS, and I was very perplexed by it. But anyway, Speaking of third-party companies like Sega, who had a Wii launch title that I don't think did as well. I don't know, Super Monkey Ball, Banana Blitz. I think that was the one. But anyway, third parties were doing really well on Wii, at least as far as Nintendo was saying, which is a stark difference by the fact that there really aren't any third parties on Wii U right now. And they highlighted that by showing off a lot of third-party games at this presentation. They showed off ones that were going to be taking use of the Wii Zapper. We had Resident Evil, The Umbrella Chronicles, Ghost Squad, Medal of Honor Heroes 2, which was a first-person shooter from EA built specifically for the Zapper that had 32-player online. And from what I remember of that game, I don't know if either of you guys played it, but that was a pretty good game.
I didn't play it, so.
Yeah, the online worked really well, and considering Wii's checkered past with online, it's kind of impressive. Link's crossbow training wasn't directly mentioned in this press conference, but Nintendo did say that when the Zapper was going to come out that fall, it was going to become bundled with Nintendo's piece of software, and the whole thing would be priced at $19.99. There's a lot of specifics in this presentation, which was kind of weird to me.
Was this the beginning of like the light gun little push on Wii? Because that's sort of a subgenre that system brought back that's easy to forget about.
Yeah, I think this was because
we had 2 Resident Evil games. We had House of Dead. Dead Space Extraction. We had a bunch of them.
The port of House of the Dead 2 and 3.
Yeah.
There was Overkill. I think this was the beginning of it. I think the Zapper kind of opened those doors and directed people to being like, hey, you can do this.
Yeah,
I remember it had like a
light gun renaissance.
Yeah, and then that carried on to the Move. And even, using the Kinect in some games, you would have light gun-like experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And just running down the list of other third-party games that were mentioned at this, we have Soul Calibur Legends, WWE SmackDown vs. Raw for Wii and DS, Ninja Gaiden Dragon Sword, Dragon Quest Swords, Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, and that's, also Madden 2008 and FIFA 2008, and Dragon Quest Monsters Joker, and Guitar Hero 3, and those last 4 were all going to be online, which seemed like it was a big deal at the time. But I think why we're all here is to talk about the few major games that were shown off here, like Super Smash Bros. Brawl, which got a specific release date of December 3rd, 2007. Now, I don't know about you guys, but what were you doing December 3rd, 2007? Because I can tell you, I sure as shit was not playing Super Smash Bros. Brawl because it didn't come out then.
Yeah, well, that date is also important. A lot of people may not remember this, but Super Smash Bros. Melee came out on December 3rd, 2001. So it was kind of like, what was it, 6 years later, same day, you'll get it. But I figured that might be one of the reasons why they did it. But, yeah, that was Brawl's disappointing on many levels, and the delay is one of them.
Yeah, because then that ended up getting delayed about 4 months to March 2008.
I think it got delayed to February, and then delayed again to March.
Yeah, because it came out in Japan, I think, late January, early February, and it got like a couple-week delay after that as well. But, yeah, there wasn't a lot of Smash Brothers at E3 2007. It wasn't even playable. It wasn't playable until E for All, because this was that weird E3 for people who don't know. The one where people just had to drive around Santa Monica and go to different hotels that game companies had things at. I think it was a little bit of a clusterfuck, as the kids say.
Yeah.
The Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass was on full display here. It had recently come out in Japan, and it was set to come out in North America in about 2 or 3 months. The one thing that stuck out to me from this extended look at Phantom Hourglass was that Bill Trinen says it's his favorite Zelda game. I feel like at E3 this year, we need to bring this up to him. To be like, hey, Bill, I know we're looking 8 years in the past, but back then you said Phantom Hourglass was your favorite Zelda game. I don't think that's true.
Marketing.
Yeah. I was not a fan of Phantom Hourglass. Where do you guys kind of stand on it?
I really like it, actually. I like both the DS ones. I think their controls are terrible, but I think the games themselves are good.
Yeah, I really dug Spirit Tracks. I felt like it fixed a lot of what bothered me in Phantom Hourglass.
Spirit
Yeah.
Tracks had its own problems, but I placed both of those games probably on the lower tier of Zelda titles.
Yeah. Metroid Prime 3 Corruption was also on display here. It was about a month away from coming out. Mario Strikers Charged was shown off, and I think that was like a couple weeks away from coming out, I believe. There was a lot of talk about how Nintendo's very serious about online. They mentioned WiiWare and how it wasn't coming out for another year, but their development partners knew about it, so don't worry. It was weird how long it took for WiiWare to come out. If you think about it, it wasn't until April 2008 that WiiWare came out. That's like a year and a half after launch.
Yeah, and remember when it did come out, there were still the fridge problems.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird. I mean, this goes back to what we were talking about in E3 2006, where Iwata mentions about how the Wii was going to have flash memory, so you could very quickly bring games up, like not have a lot of downtime loading it because the flash memory was faster. But then that kind of backed them into a corner because then they had limited memory for when they started having bigger games available for download, and the games were already restricted in size because of the way the Wii was set up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not much else to say about that. It was a huge problem. And the truth is, I stopped buying a lot of those digital games because of the whole fridge situation.
That's the same thing that happened to me. It just wasn't worth the hassle. And
Yeah.
I run into that problem on a lot of systems. Vita, 3DS, even Wii U until I got the big-ass external hard drive. It would just be like, I don't know if I want to download this game. Like, that's going to be 20 gigs, or if it's one of the portable systems, like, that's going to be like 4 gigs. I'm going to have to clear out some stuff.
Yeah, I don't want to clear things out. I just like to stockpile it all, have it accessible. And they're like, oh, you can just go and download it again. It's like, no,
Yeah,
that's just
that
too
takes
much of a
time.
pain.
Yep. Mario Kart Wii was announced during this. It was going to come with a Wii Wheel and come out in Q1 2008. Much like Smash Brothers, that did not happen. It got delayed until April 2008. So, probably in the grand scheme of things, delayed about a month or two. Or was that May? No, that was April. Wii Fit was May.
Yeah, that was a crazy 3 months when you think about it, because
Yeah.
Nintendo had those 3
Brawl to Mario Kart to
giant
Wii Fit,
titles in those 3
and then,
months.
as we'll get to, nothing for the rest of 2008. Let's see, what else? Brain Age 2, that was a big deal. Super Mario Galaxy got a very exact date that they hit. Galaxy was set to come out in North America on November 12th, 2007, which is a date that happened. And that game still looks gorgeous, even when looking at it through a crappy video from 2007.
Yeah, when I watched the video again of the press conference, just made me want to go back and play Galaxy.
Yeah.
It's such a fun game.
And then they started talking more about their kind of the expansion of the audience, referencing Brain Age, referencing Nintendogs, because those were the big ticket games right then. And they rattled off a list of other games that were kind of going to fall in that line. That it's kind of sad looking back because this was sort of, well, I guess we'll get to Wii Fit at the end of this, which was a huge success. But I don't think Picross DS really took off as well as they expected. Flash Focus, which was another Nintendo game that I don't really think took off as well as they expected.
It's terrible.
They also mentioned My Word Coach and My Life Coach. They did not bring up the My Stop Smoking Coach, which I think was also a game.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. They mentioned My Sims, High School Musical, and Rayman Raving Rabbids 2 as part of their expansion of the audience. And then the big showstopper for E3 2007 was the reveal of Wii Fit, which, looking back on it, we might kind of cock an eyebrow up and be like, oh, that was kind of dumb. But even looking at it now, Wii Fit is still a fascinating thing.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think it's brilliant. Even though it doesn't fully appeal to me, I still think it's a great piece of software, and it's something they can go further with, and it might be what they're doing eventually with quality of life.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on the Wii Fit, John?
I own it for Wii U, and I think it's interesting. Well, I mean, like Justin said, it's sort of like this probably isn't for me, but it's certainly an interesting product, and they talk about bringing in various audiences that they didn't have before, and I guess fitness just wasn't an audience that we were expecting them to go get, but they did.
Yeah, and I think at least my kind of last note that I have about Nintendo's E3 2007 thing is that this was the first year in a couple years that Miyamoto wasn't speaking in English. This is when Bill Trinen resumed translating pretty much every word he said, which is something that continues to today whenever they're in a public setting. Miyamoto seems to rarely speak English in public for any outside of being like hi. He doesn't really talk English in public anymore. Don't really know why that is, and we may never know. But I guess overall thoughts on E3 2007. What say you, Justin?
I wasn't too impressed overall. A lot of what we saw, we knew about already. You know, so as far as excitement goes, didn't really do as much for me because it's more like, can you just get most of this stuff out now?
Yeah, it was like rattling off a list of things that were happening and not really showing you like why they were cool.
Yeah, and the fact that like,
Wii Fit got a lot of love. Wii Fit looked great.
And like the game, like people wanted to hear about the most, Brawl, like they didn't really show too much from what I remember. So
yeah, and this wasn't even the ridiculous year where they revealed Snake and stuff. I mean,
yeah,
this was also the way that E3 was set up now. It was in July instead of May. And it was kind of like spread out. Like I think E for All was where they were supposed to have more of the Brawl hype, but even that, from what I remember, like that it just wasn't a well-run event. Even though Brawl was playable.
I heard like the line for Brawl was ridiculous there.
Yeah, because it was
probably the main attraction.
It was the only reason to go to E for All, as far as I could tell. John, any final thoughts on E3 2007?
It was good to see Nintendo in such a good place financially and all that, but it was just a poorly structured press conference overall. Way too much emphasis placed on sales data and demographics, and not enough emphasis placed on games that we could play on the thing that they make.
Very well put. All right, so now let's move on to the disaster of the evening, which is E3 2008. I made an allusion to this on Twitter, and I'd like to know to the four people who are watching right now that I am sticking to it, and I have whiskey to go along with E3 2008. As it starts off with Cammie Dunaway. Bless her heart. She was new to the company. This was her first E3, and it did not go well. She came out, started talking about how she went snowboarding, and like her kid likes that she works for Nintendo, and it's like so great. She loves smiling, and she also said, following in the whole "my name is Reggie" shtick that they've had for a couple years, she came out and said, "My name is not Reggie, but we're both having a lot of fun." I don't know about you guys. I feel really, really bad for Cammie Dunaway.
It was just an awkward start to the whole thing. Like you want somebody to come out like you want like Reggie or Iwata or Miyamoto or somebody who's like, yeah, Nintendo. And this was just sort of like, hi, who are you? Yeah, it was just a weird way to start.
Yeah, and I mean, she was bubbly, and she definitely kind of fit with like I think the vibe that when they were going for. Sure. She executed it. But it was a vibe that I think just fell flat. Like the goofy, awkward stuff with her and Shaun White, like, just like shit.
Yeah, I think they put her out there to kind of appeal to the regular media, maybe some of like the women and whatnot that were there for regular media sites, but for websites like us in the enthusiast media and the people who really follow this, it just came off as awkward and not really what we want to see. We want to know more about like what's going on. She's like, hey, like women like games too, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So we talked about some of this last year.
so fortunately, then Cammie left the stage, and Satoru Iwata came out, and he just kind of, I don't know, he talked about bullshit for like 20 minutes. He was basically prattling on about the old paradigm shift and the big change that was undergoing the game industry because of the Wii, because of the DS. And kind of talking about how Nintendo was set up with these evergreen titles, like your Mario Karts, like your Nintendogs, these games that were going to keep on selling, which was kind of a different thing from how the video game industry worked to an extent. As there'd be the hit title, and then it would move aside for the next hit title. And that's something that Nintendo carried through the entire Wii generation, where Mario Kart Wii, Wii Play, like all these games just sat at the top of the MPD charts month after month. Like it was absurd at a certain point.
Especially the Mario Kart stuff.
Yeah, Mario Kart sold what 35 million. I think that I'm pretty sure that Iwata or Reggie would murder lots of people to get Mario Kart 8 up to 35 million worldwide.
Because it's
I think if the devil went to Iwata and was like, hey, we're gonna kill a small country, but Mario Kart 8 is gonna get 30 million units sold, Iwata would probably do it. And Mario Kart Wii beat that number.
I believe Mario Kart Wii is the best-selling racing game of all time, if I'm not mistaken.
So following that up, do we know of any small countries that disappeared in 2008? But Iwata also said that the Mario and Zelda teams are making things. Didn't really go into too much detail there, although we did know. I mean, hindsight being what it is, the Zelda team was likely working on the follow-up to Phantom Hourglass and Twilight Princess. They were probably working on Spirit Tracks and Skyward Sword at this time, and the Mario teams were probably working on Galaxy 2 and New Super Mario Bros. Wii. So it's kind of interesting looking at Iwata say that now, and now we kind of know what they were working on to some degree. Iwata also promises great surprises in this presentation, and I would like to say, I probably could have told you this at the end of this presentation, that, sir, you are full of crap. There's not really too many great surprises littered throughout this, but one of the games that was, I guess, some sort of a surprise was Animal Crossing City Folk. Now, John, what are your thoughts on Animal Crossing City Folk?
That it was introduced with very, very dramatic music, befitting like a freaking Star Wars trailer or something.
The John Williams score for Animal Crossing.
Yeah, it was weird. Like I wanted like some quiet piano tune, and it's like this freaking symphonic movement, which was weird. There was some BS in that presentation, such as the Wii Speak announcement, where there's obviously like fake chatter between the people in the video, and overall.
What was up with like Aguchi's translated voice sounding like oddly stereotypical? It sounded like it was like Iwata saying his lines. And I mean, I know it's not my place, I guess, to be offended about like an Asian stereotype or something like that, but like I got the vibe that Nintendo had like this like Asian translated voice for Aguchi to kind of make it like, oh, he's a playful Japanese man. Like, look at he's playing with his toy. Like when they have the quote that I loved from this City Folk presentation that they had was, "The town is where you live." Like, thanks. Good to know.
Maybe they didn't want you to think you could live in the city.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah, that could be it. Yeah.
But as I mentioned before we started, City Folk is the only Nintendo game I have ever bought and then immediately just sold right back to the store. Because
it was a game. I knew people that were into City Folk. I was not one of those people.
I feel like if you have the DS one, it's just the DS one, but now it's on a console. And
it was kind of like an upgraded Wild World.
And even then, it didn't look upgraded enough to be on the Wii. Like the fact that New Leaf looks like it's like an entirely different generation and yet runs on less powerful hardware. It was ridiculous how bad City Folk looks.
Yeah.
It felt to me, and I might be jumping ahead a little bit with part of this comment, is in 2008 and 2009, like the big end of the year games, like November games, were Animal Crossing City Folk and New Super Mario Bros. Wii, and it just felt like they were just taking their DS games and putting them on the Wii. It's kind of like a, crap, we don't have enough stuff for our home console, let's just do what we can to get these games rushed out quickly.
Well, I mean, I think we heard a little bit about what happened with City Folk, like kind of in retrospective with what happened with New Leaf, is that the Animal Crossing team kind of just assumed that people just wanted more of the DS game. So that's what they did. The City Folk was basically just a DS game with a few wrinkles. And then the tepid reception to that kind of got them to go and rethink it completely, and that's why we got New Leaf. Which, I guess in kind of the long run, like, I'm glad we got New Leaf. New Leaf is the only Animal Crossing game that I sincerely love. So
I guess then I automatically love City Folk for allowing me to get New Leaf. So thank you, City Folk, for sucking.
Thank you, Gucci. So at this point, we're 20 minutes into the Nintendo presentation for E3 2008, and all we've seen is Shaun White and Animal Crossing.
What more do you need?
A lot more. And then Reggie Fils-Aime took the stage and focused on some third-party games, because this is still a time where third-party was a... If you're a Nintendo fan, you might not know of this foreign concept of the third party. You see, in the olden times of, like, 2008, there were these companies that were Nintendo or indie developers that would make video games for a Nintendo system. And I know that sounds like a foreign concept, but that's a thing that happened where, like, companies like EA or Activision or Ubisoft, they would make video games. The same video games that might show up on Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3 would also come to Wii. It's a radical concept.
Well, today EA does have an unprecedented relationship with Nintendo.
Yeah, they don't have any games on. Yep, okay, this is a little bit inside baseball, but I can't resist with EA being brought up. Although maybe I should say this for E3 2012. We got an email from ERPR reps, and like all the people at all the EA PR reps that I've talked to, they're all super wonderful, nice people. But we got an email that was just like, we're updating our address book. And I replied being like, all right, this is where we are. Here's the contact email address. Let us know whenever you come back to Nintendo systems. And the reply was like, all right, that sounds good. Bye. So that's what's going on with EA, everybody. I don't expect to go to their press conference this year. But they did have... Did they have a game? Oh, yeah, they had Spore Creatures during this. The only place that Spore appeared outside of PC was on DS and Spore Creatures. Some of the other third-party games that were shown off were Star Wars: The Clone Wars lightsaber duels, which you can use the Wii Remote and the Nunchuck and engage in a lightsaber duel, which is okay, I guess. Then you have Rayman Raving Rabbids TV Party, the third entry in the Raving Rabbids series. Remember when that was a thing? That was weird. Call of Duty World at War, which was probably the first Call of Duty game of like the major era that was almost feature complete on Wii. For people who don't know much about the Call of Duty games on Wii and Wii U, Treyarch has been very good to Nintendo systems. On the other hand, oh god, what's the other one? The Infinity Ward has never really made a game for a Nintendo system. But all of the Treyarch games usually got ports to Wii, and then at a certain time, Treyarch would then port the other games to Wii as well.
In Wii U with...
Yeah.
Yeah, because they did the Modern Warfare port was an Infinity Ward game, but Treyarch ported it, correct?
Yep. That is correct. And I think even Ghosts, Call of Duty Ghosts came out on Wii U, and I think that was also Treyarch porting it, even though that was an Infinity Ward game.
Did you get when they this is off topic, but when they ported that and like none of the DLC obviously came out for Wii U, but there were like posts from Treyarch on Miiverse that were like, we'll give you whatever like the building falling map thing is. Yeah. They were like, we'll give you this map. It was all we could scrounge. Like
and the weird thing about that. My sister plays a lot of Call of Duty, but the weird thing about all of that Call of Duty on Wii U stuff is Call of Duty Ghosts came out, and then like a little while later, that map came out, and then like, what was it, almost 2 years after the release of Black Ops 2, which launched with the Wii U, and after Ghosts in the DLC came out, they just released the Nuketown map for
I remember that
game.
Yeah,
it was
that's the thing is. We can crap on Activision as much as we all want when it comes to like Wii U support, because let's face it, like they put out Skylanders, they're putting out Guitar Hero, that's kind of about it. But like there are teams in those Activision owned subsidiaries, like the guys at Treyarch, like they tried. Like, it didn't really work out that well. And I mean, I don't think it's that much of a state secret to say that the reason why Call of Duty games aren't coming out on Wii U is because they don't sell that well.
I mean,
Like, the teams put in effort to make those games work, and they wanted to do more because I think there's that logic is that if you give the audience more, then they'll probably stick around, or they'll come back, or they'll show up. But sometimes, the dollars and cents don't add up for companies to do that.
and honestly, they're really good versions of the game. Like especially the two Wii U Call of Duty games are really, really
Yeah.
nice ports. Like,
And
and they
I
have
and
a
I
lot of like Wii U exclusive features, and they're great. They did
Yeah.
a great job.
and even the Wii games, which are limited by the fact that the Wii is graphically inferior to 360 and PS3, like those are ports with some love in them. Like they look a
Yeah.
little janky because of what they were dealing with, but they put effort into those games,
Yeah.
and World at War is one of them. There was effort put into those games to make them work well on Wii and take advantage of the system's features. But at this point in the E3 press conference, Cammie Dunaway came back on stage and talked about Guitar Hero on Tour Decades, Sport Creatures, Pokemon Rangers, Shadows of Almia, how you could use your DS at the Seattle Mariners home stadium to order food during the game, which I always wanted to try out. Also, personal trainer cooking, and probably the best announcement of maybe this entire event, Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars. Did either of you guys play Chinatown Wars?
Nope.
I did not.
You should totally check it out.
Well, if it comes out on Wii U Virtual Console, then I'll get it.
I don't know. What are the logistics of that? I wonder if that'll
That is-
ever happen.
It's a licensing nightmare.
Yeah.
With the whole downloading stuff and using it at a Safeco Field, you can actually still go on the eShop and download that app to
Really?
your 3DS.
Oh.
Yeah,
I
it's
might
like a
have to-
DIYware thing. You can't do anything with it, but you could get it.
No, I might have to check that out. I don't think they do it anymore. They might. I wouldn't be totally surprised if it's just kind of sitting there, but I'm pretty sure it's not there anymore. Then Cammie was gone. Thank God. That poor woman. Then Reggie came back, started talking about Wii Motionplus with for people who weren't around during this time period, and this was actually E3 2008 was the first E3 that I covered on behalf of Nintendo Report, although I wasn't actually at the event. There was an email sent out right before E3 that was just like, here's this dongle for your Wii. And then it'd be like, Nintendo, what is this? And they'd be like, wait till E3. And so we waited until E3, and it was revealed to be Wii Motionplus. It was going to add all this better control and everything, better gyroscope, etc., etc. And the big game for that was Wii Sports Resort, which, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but Wii Sports Resort is a great game, and this demo was, I thought, very effective. Probably the best thing about this press conference.
It was awesome to see the Wii Motionplus, and it kind of gave people what they initially expected out of the Wii.
Yeah.
Because the first time you play Wii, you were expecting kind of this one-to-one stuff, and it just didn't happen, and this did it. But the bad part about this presentation is, guess who came back?
Cammie came back to play some Disc Dog. Granted, her dog's name was Zelda, so that's pretty great. But yeah, I mean, then they showed off power cruising, which was the wave race thing, where Reggie was like, "Yeah, you're gonna throw the frisbee with your dog? Check out this shit." Might have had a cigar in his mouth at the time. I don't know. Yeah, he's got some swagger. He's still got that swagger, man. Swordplay was the last thing shown off, with Bill Trinen showing it off. Swordplay is still very fun, and you could sharpen the pencil and all that jazz. It was dated for spring 2008, wound up getting delayed until summer. Pretty much everything except for Mario Galaxy got delayed. That was given a time frame, but only by a few months. And now we get to the finale. Wii Music. So what did you guys think about Wii Music?
I mean, I played Wii Music at E3 2006. So 2 years later, they're still working on it, and this is what we get.
Did it feel a lot better?
Well, I wasn't at this E3.
Oh, never mind then.
Yeah, I was at E3 2006, and I didn't go to these E3s because it was kind of like E3 downgraded
Got Wii remotes
severely.
nearby.
Yeah, but like you kind of saw it, and you're like, what the hell am I looking at?
Like, I remember at the time, you know, fresh-faced, like, a couple months on the job at Nintendo Report, being like, "Oh, guys, this isn't that bad. Like, it looks like you could have fun with it." Looking at it now, like, I want to go back and slap that version of me across the face. Like, what were you thinking, man? Like, there's no redemption from this. It's just like it looks like a mess, and I get that they're trying to do for like this freeform thing where like, oh, it doesn't matter if you're good. Like, I can't play the saxophone. Just press buttons on the Wii remote; it'll work great. Like, they missed what makes a rhythm game, which is like learning something and getting better at it. Like, this is just like, I don't know, make some videos. Like, you can wear a dog suit. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really like the final product, but in the game's defense, I think it would be a great type of tool to like give to young children to just goof around with and learn a little bit about like the sounds of different instruments and whatnot.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's like,
there's a very specific purpose to serve.
yeah, exactly. And I just kind of felt bad for anybody like playing this on stage. It was very awkward looking.
Poor
It
JC
didn't sound
Rodrigo.
good. I know. This is like the first time like I think I saw JC
Might have
on
been one
stage.
of those. I think he might have just joined the company at that point. That's probably why
It
he was
was
on
just-
stage.
Yeah. It's
Which were
just
the other people? Denise Kabler
embarrassing.
was out there. I think she was another new hire, and I think the other guy from Treehouse might be John Yeckley. And you've probably seen John Yeckley and JC Rodrigo on Treehouse Live stuff. JC's been all about the Smash Brothers for Smash Brothers on Wii U and 3DS.
Yeah, and let's not forget about the, I guess, semi-celebrity guy, Ravi Drums.
Oh yeah, good old Ravi Drums. That he didn't know what was going on, man. It was probably just like he got a call, like he's probably based out of LA, and Nintendo was like, "Hey, we need a drummer," and someone probably was just like, like this DJ, he's real good, he can play the drums," and Nintendo was probably like, "Here's some money," and he was like, "You're Nintendo, that's American dollars. Yes, I'll be in your press conference. Is it gonna be for a Mario game? Like, am I gonna play the drums for like The Legend of Zelda? Am I going to be like 7 years in the future that Imagine Dragons who played with Koji Kondo at the Game Awards? Is that what I'm gonna do?" And they're like, "No, you're gonna use the Wii balance board and 2 Wii remotes and play the drums. To what music? Is it gonna be like a Mario song or Pokemon maybe? Like Metroid? Metroid would be cool. You guys haven't done one of those? Well, actually, they did one the year before. No, it's just gonna be like, just take a beat. The Miyamoto is gonna play the saxophone, like a real saxophone. No, he's gonna have a Wii remote too. All right, money's good.
I would have done it.
I probably would have done it too if I could play the drums.
Exactly.
This isn't my
I'll play
rock
pretend
band
drums
heyday. I
with
probably could
pretend
have fixed it.
saxophone Miyamoto.
Yeah. Yeah, this was a really bad E3 press conference, and I think that, I mean, it's not as drastic as, like, this was the beginning of the end for Nintendo, but, like, this was when the cracks started to show for, like, they reached their peak with Wii, with that trifecta of Brawl to Mario Kart to Wii Fit, and well, they still had many successes left. I mean, New Super Mario Bros. Wii the next year was great, and the system was still selling really well. But this is when it started to kind of fade away from the public consciousness.
Yeah.
Fortunately, Wii Fit was still impossible to find by the time this E3 happened, so they had that going for it.
I think something we forgot to talk about briefly in regards to Wii Fit in 07 was we got My Body Is Ready.
Oh yeah, I forgot we got My Body Is Ready.
Yeah.
And he was also like saying about how muscle weighs more than fat.
Yeah. So at least there was that at these E3s.
Yeah.
I got some good quotes.
Broke my wrist.
Yeah. So, any final thoughts about E3 2007 and 2008? Let's go with you, John.
They're not great press conferences. That's all.
How about you, Justin?
Yeah, like it's hard to say, like it's hard to explain to people, I guess, that we knew these E3s were going to be weird because they weren't going to be the typical E3s, because I think they made like an announcement shortly after 2006, like, yeah. This isn't going to be like next year's E3 might not even happen, or if it does happen, it's going to be drastically different. So I think that may have...
I think these, like, it is, as E3 is referred to now, it's the Electronic Entertainment Expo 2000 whatever. When 2007 and 2008 happened, I believe it was like the E3 Media and Business Summit.
Yeah, it was much smaller, so as far as like what was going to be shown at these press conferences, I wasn't sure if, from a fan perspective, if like they'll have like this and show like some more stuff throughout the year, because it's not as big anymore. Then they kind of presented this kind of like the previous years. So in the end, I think both of these press conferences were pretty weak. And after E3 2004, when they had like the huge Zelda reveal, and like that year was just like probably their best E3 press conference ever. You were just waiting for like the next one that was close to that level, and like these were worse than ever before.
Yeah.
And there's nothing huge at the end to really be like, yeah! And ending with Wii Fit and Wii Music on each year kind of just... It just didn't give the people who are your fans, who you know are watching, what they wanted. It was kind of just aimed at that casual crowd, but they weren't going to be watching this. So I don't know why you spent so much time on the...
And I think the difference with what makes 2008 worse than 2007 is that 2007 still had Mario Galaxy in the middle of it. It still had Metroid Prime 3 in the middle of it. It still had Phantom Hourglass in the middle of it. I mean, they just chose to end on Wii Fit, and I think rightfully so, because Wii Fit for them, that was the thing that they wanted, you know, all the major outlets, your Forbes, your Time magazines, all those things, that's what you wanted to be covered by them, was Wii Fit. And I feel like they tried to duplicate that in E3 2008, but they just, outside of Wii Music and Animal Crossing, they didn't really have anything. They didn't have anything to show.
Yeah, it was just 2008 especially, it was just a weak year.
Yeah.
They just released, like, their 3 huge titles, so they really came into this with very little to show.
Yeah. I feel like Nintendo now would have probably pushed back Mario Kart Wii to fall, and that would have been a big part of their press conference in 2008.
Yeah, it's really shocked me, even back then, that, hey, Smash Brothers is coming out in March 2008, and then Mario Kart in April, and then Wii Fit in May.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my gosh, like, these, especially when it came to Smash Brothers and Mario Kart, you're like, wow, these two hyped up online games, even though Brawl's online didn't work. We have these great multiplayer games coming out back to back. I cannot see Nintendo doing that today.
Yeah.
At the same time, what was it? Super Mario 3D World, Link Between Worlds, and Mario Party Island Tour all came out on the same frickin' day.
I think they might be getting away from that.
I hope so.
Also, those are 2 different platforms, at least.
And Mario Party Island Tour wasn't a very good game.
Yeah, Mario Party Island Tour was just sent out there to die.
Yeah.
But for me, that's $100 in one day at least, and that's just mean, Nintendo. Spread out my money spending.
Well, I mean, look at what they did
when Amiibo came out.
Smash Brothers Amiibo and Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire all came out on the same day, and
the GameCube controller adapter and GameCube controllers.
Yeah.
Well, the GameCube controller adapter didn't really come out.
Came out on the same day as well.
Yeah.
I think there was another big date as well. But yeah, I think that just about does it for E3 2007 and 2008. If you want to see us talk about E3 2005 and 2006, there are videos that should be in some way associated to this one. You can go see all that on Nintendo World Report TV. Subscribe if you would be so kind. Get ready for all of our E3 2015 coverage, which will kick off. You'll be able to see our 3 lovely faces as well as a whole. We'll have 8 others in addition to us as well at E3 2015. And we'll be coming at you live, or if you're watching this when we're not live, which is probably more likely, we will be doing something on E3 2009 within the next few days. So keep an eye out on my Twitter, at Enron10. I'll mention it there. and send any feedback you have to connectivity@nintendoworldreport.com, or just leave a comment on this YouTube video. We usually respond to them, or just let us know, carrier pigeon, something like that. Any final thoughts, John and Justin?
I don't have much to say other than I'm awaiting a carrier pigeon now, so
Yeah.
I can't wait for one of those to show up.
Yeah,
Make that happen.
Do it.
Yeah. You have a couple days before we do E3 2009. But thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you all real soon.